Nancy Meyers films have always been a major source of inspiration for home decor enthusiasts everywhere. Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting 3 homes that capture the essence of her signature style, showcasing charming details and inviting interiors. Join us as we celebrate the beauty and warmth that define a classic Nancy Meyers home. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Camille.
And I'm Marco. Welcome to our first home in Cardiff by the Sea.
Come on in, we'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Marco Meza-Ruiz. I'm a real estate developer. I'm the founder of my own development company called Meza-Ruiz, and I'm also work with Camille in our interior design firm called Camille Alexandra Interiors.
Hi, I'm Camille Meza-Ruiz. I'm an interior designer. We live here with our Australian Shepherd Zuri, and this is our first home. Right now we are sitting in our entryway of our home. It's a pretty small home. It's 1,200 square feet, so it's our entryway and also kind of our living room, all in one.
So a little bit about our home. We live in a 1,200 square foot home, townhome here in Cardiff by the Sea. Cardiff is a small beach town in San Diego County. It's roughly like 2 square miles just along the coast. And Cardiff is really special to me. It's where I grew up. It's my grandparents first immigrated here from Mexico, and their first home that they purchased was here in Cardiff. And my family has, never really left. And so we love it here. I had such just fond memories growing up. Like I said, a lot of my family grew up here. My mom's one of 6 and my dad's one of 10, and I have like over 50 cousins, and a lot of them live here and to this day still live here. We have cousins and aunts and uncles that live walking distance from here still. So when we were looking at buying a home, those things really matter to us. Our family really is important to us, and we're trying to figure out where to start kind of planting roots. And I shared some of my stories with Camille of growing up, and we just, loved it, and we tried to buy a home here. And so 7 years ago, we purchased this home. We've been working on it ever since. We started with absolutely nothing.
Like no furniture.
Yeah, basically no furniture, no nothing. We saved up as much money as we could and put it all on our down payment, and then had to start over. And we had like no furniture because we were living with our parents, and before then we were in college. So we literally had no dining table, no sofa, no bed even. So our first nights here, we had a fold-up table that I borrowed from my parents, a couple fold-up chairs that we threw in the living room, no TV, and I brought my air mattress. And so we slept on an air mattress for, a few days and ate takeout, and yeah, started with nothing. But over 7 years, we've, saved and budgeted well and planned out this home, and I think we've done a great job. Camille's been fantastic in the design and leading all that creative, and I helped executed it and put it together.
So Marco and I have been together for over 10 years now. We both went to USC for college, and so that's where we met. We met at a fraternity invite for his fraternity, so super classic college story.
So I needed a date, and I asked one of my friends if she had any friends that would be interested in going to invite with me, and so she asked Camille if she was interested in going, and she said yeah.
Yeah, it was one of my best friends, Yasmin, who also knew Marco, but I didn't know Marco. I had never met Marco before. And so Yasmin was going to the invite, and so she asked if I wanted to go as well with Marco, and I said sure. So we got ready, and then we went over to Marco's fraternity, and that's where I met Marco for the first time.
We met for the first time in the hallway of my fraternity, and so I think it's a really funny and kind of cute story because we were all dressed up nice. I was in a suit and tie, and she was in a beautiful dress, and we were just in my fraternity hallway, and it was just like reeked of beer, and there was just beer cans everywhere on the floor and loud music playing. But I thought, it was just really cute, and I just never, knew that I was just looking at who would be my future wife for, and we'd be together for 10 years, and she'd be my future wife. So I think that's awesome.
So we got engaged when we were on a trip in Spain in 2019, which was great and fantastic, but then it quickly turned into 2020, which was COVID. And so we were just in the beginning of planning our wedding when COVID kind of happened. And so we were trying to decide if we wanted to kind of wait it out and have a wedding, or if we, just wanted to do something small. And so I feel like I kind of had a moment of realization that COVID was going to be around for quite a while, and so we decided to just get married in 2020. We got married in November on our dating anniversary, which was nice. So it was our 7-year dating anniversary that we got married on. And so since it was so small, we just had immediate family. There were 15 people total, and because of that, we were able to have the wedding at my dream venue, San Ysidro Ranch, which was awesome and so beautiful.
I had a lot of different ideas of how to propose to Camille. I knew I wanted to do it abroad. We love to travel. We've been traveling together since we graduated, every year to a new country we haven't been to. And so I knew I wanted to do something like that. We were in Spain in 2019, in the fall of 2019. And I had a bunch of ideas of where I could possibly do it, but I didn't really have one set in stone. And so I kind of just felt it, and we were just walking in Madrid one day, and we decided to get some charcuterie and cheese and have a picnic in Retiro Park in Madrid. And I just kind of had a feeling I might do it then. And so we walked over to this park, and we just had wine and charcuterie because Camille loves that. And so I just proposed there. It was beautiful. It was in fall, and the leaves were turning different colors and falling. And yeah, I just fumbled my way through it. and she said yes, and yeah, it was perfect for me.
Welcome to our entryway. So this is the entry to our home. I think, like I mentioned before, it connects to our living room. It's a small space, but I definitely wanted to have a dedicated entry space in our home. And so some of the things I'd like to point out here is this big art piece. I knew I wanted a large abstract art piece here. I knew I wanted it to be neutral because I do like to swap out flowers and different decor seasonally. And so I actually painted this piece myself. My mom's an artist, so I'm really fortunate that original art is something I've grown up with. And so when I knew I wanted a really large piece here, I decided to give it a try. And so I bought the big canvas and I painted it this neutral beige color. And then I just kept sending my mom photos of it as I would do more and more layers to say, oh, do you think this is enough yet? Do you think it's enough? And she basically kept saying, add more layers, add more layers. And so it's just a ton of layers of paint and pastel and pencil, just all built up until it finally felt complex enough that it had enough depth that it felt complete. And so I got the frame for it and then we hung it up and it's been here ever since. So I really love that piece. Other things in this entryway, this lamp here is one of my favorite finds. There's a consignment store about 5 minutes from here called Consignment Classics that I go to all the time. And this is probably my best find ever at Consignment Classics. It's an alabaster lamp. It's super heavy and I got it for $60, I think. And the shade was horrible, so I threw that away and got this new shade for it that I think is so cute and unique. So yeah, that was a great find. Also, I mean, I love putting fresh flowers here. Like I said, I change them out seasonally. These I got at a Carlsbad flower market, which just has a ton of different flowers you can choose from. So that's always fun to swap things out there. And then another thing that I did is I really liked hanging these market baskets over here by the front door. We went on a trip to Provence a couple of years ago and I just kept seeing market bags everywhere in Provence, and then I would see photos of homes in Provence that had just tons of market bags and baskets all by the door, and I thought that it looked so beautiful, but it was also so practical. You can just grab one and head down to the farmer's market, or we like to take them to the beach. So that's something I did that I think looks really beautiful, but it's also super practical.
My favorite part of this entry is definitely Zuri's little dog bed. We are obsessed with Zuri. Like ask any of our family and friends and we're just completely obsessed with Zuri. We're the luckiest ever. She's just the sweetest. So I love it, and Zuri obviously loves it. She's always, hanging out there, and it's like her little domain. She's got a domain in every single room in the house. She's got a bed. I also really love this seascape here. It's an original piece that we got in Laguna Beach at a First Thursday, and we just love art. It's something I didn't really have when I was growing up, original art, and I'm just super thankful that Camille introduced me to that because I just am obsessed with the art now, and it just really brings in that human element to it. You can kind of feel a lot of times the brush strokes in the paintings and stuff. So it's great. One of my favorite things to do with Camille and just anyone is to go to the beach, and we just live a mile from the beach, and so we're always there, and we like to just watch the sunset and collect our seashells. So some of these have just come from our local beaches here in Cardiff, but some of them have come from very far away. Some of them have come from the beaches of Normandy and also New Zealand, and probably others, but I don't remember right now.
I would say I make most of the design decisions, being an interior designer. Marco definitely has opinions, which I welcome. It's been a journey since moving in to learn how to work together and work with each other's style. But I think we've, in recent years, gotten into a good groove of making style design decisions together. I think that the style of our home is, it really tells our story, and that's, I think, the most important thing when you're designing a home, especially for me as an interior designer. I want to make sure that any home I design, including my own, tells the story of the family that lives there. And so for us, there's a lot of different components to that. So I moved around a lot growing up. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and all of my family's from Indiana originally. and then I moved to the West Coast when I was in high school. And so I think throughout the home you can see little elements from all of those different places, which I really like, and it makes it really unique to us. And then also I think our home is really collected, and so we've incorporated pieces that we've got throughout our travels or that we've just collected over the years. So that's something that I really wanted to emphasize in our home. And then I think our home is also has coastal touches. I think it's important for a home to reflect the environment where it's at. And so since we are so close to the beach, I like to incorporate little nods to the ocean and the coastal area. And right off our entryway is our living room. When we moved in here, one of the challenges with this space is that there's not a ton of natural light on our first floor here. And so a lot of the renovations and things that we've done have all been with the goal to make it as light and bright as possible. And so when we moved in, this built-in was here, which I loved. It was one of my favorite things about the home. But it was a really orangey colored wood. And then the flooring used to be a grayish tile, and the walls and the ceiling were painted the same beige color. So it was different, and it just felt really dark, and like I said, not a ton of natural light. And so over the years we've slowly made improvements, and so we painted all of the cabinetry white. We added the tongue and groove in the room to help brighten it up as well. We painted the ceiling a light blue color, which is one of my favorite touches. It's Faro and Ball Borrowed Light. And then we also changed the flooring to be this like light oak flooring. So all of that makes it feel a lot brighter and a lot more happy in here, I think. And so with the built-in here, I love built-ins and bookcases that are just filled with books that look really lived in and collected. But with that, it can get pretty busy quickly if you're not careful. Books are really colorful, and it can start to feel overwhelming. So one thing that I did on our built-in here to try to combat that is I repeated the same cream-colored bone picture frames throughout to help try to calm down all of the colors of the books, as well as all of the photos that I put in the frames are black and white, again, to not bring in too much color into the bookcase. And so that helps it to feel cohesive throughout, but also, like I said, to tone down the busyness of the bookshelves. And then what else do we have here? We have some really nice artwork. So this piece up here, my mom painted. I mentioned she's an artist. This is of the beach here in Cardiff. So this is the beach that we go to whenever it's a nice sunny day, which is pretty frequent here in San Diego. And we love going here. Zuri loves being here as well, so that's always fun. And then I have a couple other art pieces. This is just a nocturnal seascape that I got at a thrift store or something. I don't even remember, but I saw it and I loved it because I didn't have any nocturnal seascapes. So that's really cool. And then another thing that we've done, so we live in a pretty small space here, and we don't have a dedicated bar area, and we don't really have room for a whole bar cart or a bar setup. And so we decided to take over this little corner of our built-in as our bar area. And so we added this big wood tray and then just put a ton of bottles on it, and it works really well. So we were trying to think creatively to how to use the small space to fill the void that we had of not having like a dedicated bar area or a large kitchen or things like that. And then in the living room here, as we mentioned, we wanted to keep our furniture really flexible. We didn't want to have a big sectional that really defines your space. We wanted to keep it so that we can move the chairs around as needed for different events that we're having. And so right now the seating is kind of in a more conversational layout, which is really nice most of the time, but sometimes, if we're watching a game or anything, we'll move the chairs around as needed, which is nice. These chairs I also got at Consignment Classics, my favorite place, and I refinished them into this dark brown. When I got them, they were white, and the paint was chipping everywhere, and the cushions were dark green and not very cute. So I got them, I refinished them, and then I had the cushions made. And then one thing that I've made the mistake before is when you're putting chairs directly in front of a built-in, it can be really tricky with scale a lot of times because the built-in is table height. So sometimes your chairs, especially a lot of chairs nowadays, feel really small. And so the taller table height of the built-in can make your chairs feel especially small. And so when I had the cushions made for these chairs, one thing I did is I wanted them even a couple inches taller than the back of the chair so that, you know, they would feel like the right scale with the built-in behind it. And then, yeah, we just have this coffee table. I really love this marble coffee table. It's a great piece. It's incredibly heavy. It's a nightmare to move, but it's very sturdy. And then we have this super comfortable sofa, which is great. Most of the time I actually have a quilt here on the seat of the sofa because it's one of Zuri's favorite places to sit. And so it doesn't get too dirty. It's a performance fabric, so it's actually been pretty good. But the quilt does help to just make it easier to throw that in the wash rather than having to wash all of the cushions all the time.
So my favorite things to do here are just have people over and host. We just have a big family and we just love to have everyone over. Like we've mentioned, it's a small space, so we had to be really careful about everything that we picked for this space and make it as like flexible as possible. So we have a lot of like chairs here and some like in other little areas throughout the home, and we just kind of bring it all together for things like a USC game day. We just have all our friends over and kind of like move it all towards the TV, and that's just been really fun. It's super easy to just kind of move them around, and it's great because we really can fit a ton of people in here. Like I think we've had, I don't know, like 20 people, maybe. I don't know, maybe not 15 people come and watch the games with us, and yeah, it's been really fun. I also just love this couch. It's so comfortable, and it's just like it serves a bunch of different kind of uses, like just hang out watching TV, but it's also like I love like laying on sofas and so especially with Zuri, and so we just usually like every weekend we kind of always have like a time where we just hang out here and just chill together, and it's one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my favorite parts of the home. And like, as you know, we're just so obsessed with Zuri. We have a portrait of her that Camille's mom did for us, and it's actually a photo that we have from just one of our trips to the beach down here, and she's just like having the best time of her life, just, you know, smiling, and yeah, she loves the beach. She's like always smiling when we go there.
Okay, so another thing that we did in this space, as I mentioned, there's not a ton of natural light, and so we wanted to add a Dutch door that had a window at the top so that we could add more natural light in here. And also Dutch doors are just so cute and they bring so much character to a space. And so yeah, I love it. We painted it this light blue color. It's Faro and Ball light blue. And it's great. It's just really cute. We ended up choosing this home primarily for the location. So we knew we really wanted to be in Cardiff. And as Marco mentioned, it's a pretty small community. So there's not honestly a ton of choices of homes in Cardiff. And so we pretty much had narrowed it down to this specific development as to where we wanted to be. And so at that point, it just kind of became a waiting game, and we were waiting for different properties in this development to come onto the market. And we saw only one. We saw one or two before we saw this one. And it was hard to pass them up, and it was definitely a big struggle of if we were doing the right thing, but it just didn't feel 100% right. And then when we saw this home, we purchased this home from the original owner. The home was built in the 60s, so having one owner for that entire period of time was obviously really unique for this area too. And that was something that we really loved about this home because it had been the same owner the whole time, and so we could tell and you could just feel that the home had been really loved and taken care of. And so that was something that we were looking for. And so while we picked this home, style-wise, it didn't mesh with our style at all. Like I said, it was an elderly man who lived here before, so not quite our style. But yeah, it had been really well taken care of and kept up, and so we loved that. My advice for new homeowners who are starting with pretty much nothing would be to invest in really classic pieces. Furniture is so expensive, and so I think that if you are making sure that you're using your money wisely and you're purchasing neutral and really timeless silhouettes of furniture, I think that that's a really good way to go. And then if you do want to have some trendy pieces, buy those more cheaply so that if you want to get rid of them in 5 years, you don't feel bad.
Something that we did that was really helpful for us is just really planning out what we wanted to do every year. Every year in the beginning of the year, we would come together and just kind of plan out what improvements and what furnishings we wanted to buy for that year and set aside that money for it. As I've mentioned, we started with nothing, and all our money went into the down payment. So we really had to do it over time because we just didn't have any other options. And so that's advice I would give to any new homeowner, is just take that time and plan it out and budget for it, because it will happen, over time. It won't happen right away, but over time, I think you really start to really learn about each other and grow together as a couple, and you can kind of collect that journey that you've experienced over time, and you can really bring it into your home. And so that's something we've done, and I think that's really helpful advice for other people.
Another thing would be, don't rush to fill your rooms. It's even hard for me because you want your room to be done and complete, but I think that it's really good to be patient and wait for the right items, and don't just rush to get it done with whatever's available or what you can afford at that moment. I think it's okay to have rooms that are empty or halfway done and just wait for the right pieces to come along, and then in the long run it'll cost you less because you did it right the first time, and you'll love it that much more.
I guess one other thing that I think is really good advice is to really ask for the help when you need it. I think if you need interior design help, you should really, consider hiring an interior designer, or if you need some help with a contractor or with construction, hire a contractor. I think it's really helpful to kind of, build that team and get that expert help when you need it. I know it's tough when you first start because you're just really having to be smart with your money, but I think it's some of the smartest money you can invest in is in an interior designer, because you're really just doing it right kind of the first time. It's really helpful to really just understand yourself and the journey and what you're trying to portray, and it's just you're doing it right from the beginning, and you're learning how to invest wisely, your money, and you can just do it over time. And I think it's just really, really valuable. That just pays dividends in the long run. It really just helps create that better home for you that you will love and you'll just have, forever. And now we'll just walk over to our dining room.
Okay, so this is our dining space, and the first thing I'll talk about here is this art piece. And so I knew I wanted another abstract art piece here on this wall, but I wanted it to be different from the one in the entryway. I wanted it to be much more geometric. And so I started researching different abstract art, especially geometric, and I wanted something circular for some reason. And so I started learning about this artist. Her name is Hilma Off Clint, and she was actually one of the first abstract artists. She's not that known about. At least I didn't know about her. But she has these really stunning, way ahead of their time, circular paintings. And so this one was inspired by her. She has a very similar one that I loved, but it wasn't in the colors of my room. So I created this one that's really similar to hers, but in the colors of our whole space down here. And so I really love that piece, and I love the way it turned out. And then another thing, one of my favorite things in the whole house, I would say, is this wicker pedestal and urn. And this is actually a fun story. So my old interior design boss bought it for me. That's definitely something I learned, that working in interior design is a huge perk, because your boss and your coworkers know what items you're obsessing over and what you really want to have in your own house. And so for Christmas one year, my boss bought me this pedestal and urn and surprised me with it, and it was just the best gift, and I'll have it forever.
And over here, you just have a couple other art pieces. This one, Camille's mom made for us as well. It's a plein air art piece, and she's all over our home. She's a great artist, and she's so talented and can do like so many different things. And so this is just a seascape, another seascape, just to bring kind of that coastal touch to our home. And then over here, we found this when we were traveling in Belgium. We were just kind of walking the streets of Brussels, and we didn't even like plan this, but we just stumbled upon, it seemed like their design district off these like couple of streets in Brussels. And it was like stunning. Like the stores, the boutiques were just like so special. Like we've been in like France and like England and Spain and all that, and just like this couple of streets in Brussels was just so spectacular, the stuff that we were finding. And we unfortunately couldn't like afford a lot of them. There were some really, really cool pieces, but we found this at a kind of antique store, and it's just a simple kind of sketch of a street in Brussels with the home. And so we just fell in love with it, and brought it back with us. So we always try to, on our travels, bring like some element. We have some stuff like some table runners from Peru, and we just love to, like, when we go, just kind of bring something from there, but just in a very like classic and timeless way, so we can just always have it throughout our life together.
I think my favorite room in the house, I would say, is our kitchen, just because my favorite activity at nighttime is to dim the lights, turn on the music, pour some wine, and just make a really fantastic dinner. It's just something that really relaxes me and gets me in the best mood. And so I think because of that, the kitchen is my favorite space.
My favorite space is, it's really hard for me to say which is my favorite place, because Camille's just done such a fabulous job everywhere here. Like, I love every space for different reasons. Like the living room, for example, I love it because I get to cuddle with my dog, my Zuri, like every weekend on our little cloud couch, and super comfortable, and I just love hanging out with her, cuddling up with her. I also just love the kitchen. Camille's just done such a great job, like bringing so much life in there with her design, just kind of bringing in some of the touches from other parts of the home, and just making it really feel very homey in that kitchen. And just love it because everyone just goes to our kitchen. We have a big family, and we just have a lot of people over, a lot of friends over, and it's just been really fun. And like everyone says, everyone just goes to the kitchen and just to eat, and food just really big part of our life. We love making food for our family and friends.
This is our kitchen. This is my favorite space in the house. We recently redid the countertops, which was really exciting for me. That's something that I had been looking forward to doing since we moved in 7 years ago. So we finally did that a couple months ago. We went with a Carrara marble, so I love the way it turned out. And also one thing that I always try to do in kitchens is to make them feel really homey. I don't like it when kitchens feel too sterile. And so I like to do that by bringing in rugs and lots of lamps and other things that are typically more thought of as items that belong in a living room or a bedroom, but I like to bring them into the kitchen as well to make sure that your kitchen has the same cozy feeling as the rest of the house. And then another thing to point out in here that I did, also to kind of create the cozy feeling, was I hung these baskets up here from the ceiling. And there's a photo, well, lots of photos of Martha Stewart's first kitchen at her house in Turkey Hill. And she has, the ceiling is just covered with baskets and copper pots, and it's just stunning, and I have been obsessed with it forever. And so it's my dream to one day have a pot rack with tons of beautiful copper pots like Martha. But for now, I had to go for the baskets, and just to give it a little bit of the cozy feeling and a nod to Martha Stewart.
This is also one of my favorite rooms. It's where Camille makes her fantastic roast chickens and her chili for game days, and it's just like, she's just a wonderful cook, and I'm super happy and lucky that you know, she makes all this stuff for us. And so one of my favorite things here, like we were saying, is just, you know, having people over, and we created a cookbook club, or we host a cookbook club with our friends, and you know, everyone just brings a dish over. We first pick a book, and then everyone kind of picks a recipe from the cookbook, and we come together here, and we just kind of put it all here on this peninsula, and just enjoy that together. And it's been really fun to see all our friends go from real amateur college, you know, cooks to like being really good cooks now. And so it's been really fun to kind of see that journey. One of our favorite cookbooks that we've done for Cookbook Club is this one here. It's Ina Garten's cookbook, Cook Like a Pro. This was really fun because like Ina Garten's like the best. She's so good. Every recipe she's done is just like spectacular. So it really made our friends look like professional chefs, and it's totally just due to just Ina Garten having the best recipes. So this is one that we've really liked. We've done one of our friend favorite was a Hawaiian cookbook that we had, and so that was really fun. We did like the whole spread with all you know, the porks and the rice, the salads, the mac salad, and so that was really fun to do. But we've done so many. We've done like Mexican cookbooks, we've done like Christy Teigen, we've done like so many, and it's just been really fun. All our friends just, you know, love it, and they are always asking to do it more, so that's been really fun. I've grown to love together is just, you know, the food, like we've been mentioning, and traveling. And so one of the ways that we do that together is just when we travel, we go to some of the some great restaurants around the world. And so right here we have a menu from the French Laundry. We couldn't travel during our honeymoon because we got married in 2020. So we decided to just go up the coast and go to Napa, Sonoma, and Big Sur. And so we went to the French Laundry, and we also went to Single Thread. And yeah, that blew our minds because it was the first time we had gone to a restaurant like that, and it was just so much fun.
Now we'll head up to our guest bathroom. It's a small bathroom, but we did a couple of really fun things in here. First being that I painted these stripes on the wall myself. It was a ton of work, but I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. So that was a fun touch. And then something else that we did in here that I love is when we did the kitchen countertop downstairs, we had to get 2 slabs, and so we ended up with some extra marble. And so we did the countertops up here as well. And then instead of just doing a traditional backsplash, I wanted to do a shelf. I thought that it would be a really fun and interesting detail without adding a ton of cost for the fabricator, because it's so simple. It's really just 2 pieces of marble that they essentially glued together. But it just adds something fun and it makes it look a lot more custom. I think to me what gives a home soul is kind of what I said before about how your home should tell the story of you and of your family. And to me that's through art and things you've collected and books and photos and things that are meaningful to you. So to me, I think that's what really gives a home personality and makes it feel kind of like its own character in the story.
And just, I think what always brings the home soul is just that human touch. And so whatever you like to do in your life or what's important to you should really just come out. So family's huge for us, and food is huge in our life, and so we've kind of done a lot in the kitchen in terms of that, and just having like our small space, being very flexible to be able to just incorporate all our family. So what I think brings soul to a home is just really just bringing in a lot of those things that you love in your life, and with your wife and your family, and your dog, Zuri.
So this is our primary bathroom. It's an exact mirror image of our guest bathroom. So I ended up doing the same thing with the marble shelf here that I did in the other bathroom, and I love it. And then in here, instead of the stripes, I wanted to go for a trellis pattern because it kind of ties in the themes that you'll see in our bedroom here. Now we'll head over into our primary bedroom. So this is our primary bedroom. I really wanted this space to feel really cozy, and so I wanted to paint it a darker color actually, as opposed to the downstairs where everything is light. So we painted this room Faro and Ball French gray, which I love. It's just a beautiful, dusty, cozy green. And then I wanted the bed to still really fresh and just kind of like a cloud you wanted to jump into. And so we have a lot of white bedding, but then we also have this quilt at the foot of the bed because Zuri does love to sleep at the foot of our bed. And so the quilt kind of helps so that it's not white bedding that we're concerned she's going to get little paw prints on. And then we have this beautiful art piece above our bed that my mom painted as well. This is of San Ysidro Ranch, which I mentioned is where we got married. So this is actually the ceremony site at San Ysidro Ranch. It's just the most beautiful property up in Montecito, and they have the most beautiful gardens, and there's mountains behind the property and the ocean out in the distance, and it's just the most stunning place. So it was a dream to get married there. Also in this room, we have a couple of these chinoiserie panels, which I got from Etsy, which they turned out really nicely. They're hand painted, and I love them. It's my dream one day to have a full chinoiserie wallpapered bedroom of blue panels similar to this. But for this house, we weren't going to wallpaper the whole room, so I just got a couple panels framed, so it still gives me that feeling without having to wallpaper the whole space. And then over here for one of my nightstands, I've always loved skirted tables. I think that they're so pretty and feminine, and so I thought that it would be really fun to do one as a nightstand. And they're also a really cost-effective way to have a really upgraded, upscale looking side table. And so I just bought the fabric and had a local seamstress make the tablecloth for me, and I love the way that it turned out.
One of my favorite things that Camille does throughout our home is just bring in a lot of candles. She loves like bringing in that layered lighting, that ambient lighting. And so right here we have just a Joe Malone candle, and it's, especially, it's very special to us, this candle. It's actually our scent from our wedding. And Camille just had this fabulous idea of just going to Jo Malone and like finding her scent for our wedding. I had no idea that was a thing. And it was just really fun because like we love it, and like our whole family, we only had 15 people there due to COVID, or else it would have been like 200-300 people with my family, whole family. But it was just a really nice touch, and our whole family has these candles. They've asked for them, and so we gave them some as a gift. And it's something Camille does all the time in her, you know, in our projects with our clients, is just bringing that personal touch. It could be like a candle like this from someone sent, or just, you know, layering in that lighting. It's super important for us in our projects. It just really creates a very like homey space. It's a really safe space. It's a space that really inspires you. Just really creates a great environment for you to just do, you know, whatever you want to do in that space. So that's something that I just really love, and that she has them sprinkled throughout the home.
And this is our patio. It's really nice having this outdoor space because we don't have a ton of eating space inside, and so it's nice to have a little bit of a larger table that we can eat at instead, or we can have overflow guests out here. But we still wanted it to feel just as comfortable as the home and cozy. So I did that by bringing in pillows and tablecloths and lots of layers on the table to really give it interest and make it just as homey.
So we always eat out here, just us two or with our family and friends. Like if we have a lot of people here, we definitely have to kind of come out here as well. But it's just so nice just living in San Diego. It's, you know, the stereotype of it being always sunny and 70 is like pretty true. So even in the winter, it's like you can use this space all the time. So we love coming out here, and we just kind of love what we did out here. We love like gardens, and in our future home, in our dream home, we already envision just having like a vegetable area, you know, a flower area, a cutting area, just a bunch of trees, fruit trees. Something we just really love, just that element of nature. We even bring it inside with all our flowers and our trees inside the home. And so we kind of wanted to do that out here as well. It's not like a big space, and we don't have that ability to have our dream garden, but we kind of did it as best we could here with just layering it and layering it with trees and plants. So yeah, we love like hydrangea, so we have some of those, which is great because they, you know, do really well with you know, not as much direct sunlight, which is a challenge we had to overcome in here, but we've done well. It's thriving, a little too thriving sometimes, but it's good. And so we also just grill a lot here. We have a little grill, and one of our favorite things to do is to grill Cardiff crack. It's tri-tip from our local seaside market here. It's like famous. It's the best tri-tip you'll ever have, and they call it Cardiff crack.
So when we moved in, this little bar shelf was actually here under this window, and it's super fun because if you open the window here, you can just reach straight in through to the kitchen, which is super fun and also convenient and practical when you're hosting. Home to me it's a backdrop for your life, really. And so for me, I want my home to be a space that feels comfortable and cozy and safe, but also I really want it to be beautiful. It's nice having a beautiful backdrop for your life if you can. You know, I have the constant Nancy Meyers movie playing in my head of where I want my life to look like a Nancy Meyers movie, and I want to have friends over and have dinner parties and you know, have it just feel really picturesque like it looks in my head.
What home means to me is just a place where you can grow as a person, as both personally and professionally, and also just grow with, you know, your partner and your family. And I think Camille's just done such a great job doing that. You know, you're just gonna have this, you know, long journey in your home with yourself and with your, you know, with your partner and your family, and it's just great to have, you know, a space that really just helps you through that journey, all the ups and downs. And I just, you know, I just love our home, and I feel like Camille's just done a great job.
Today on Homeworthy, we're touring interior designer Jamie Zehner's quaint and layered cottage by the sea in Laguna Beach, California. With an affinity for Nancy Meyers' aesthetic, Jamie designed her home to mimic that cozy and inviting feel we're all so familiar with. Her expansive garden lined with orange trees, a bed of herbs, and blooming flowers is just one of the many features that contributes to the tranquil and idyllic feel. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hey Homeworthy, my name is Jamie Zehner. Welcome to my cottage by the sea in Laguna Beach, California. So we are in the living room right now, and this is a space I really wanted to create a calm, serene area, a Nancy Meyers aesthetic, if you will, because I wanted to infuse a lot of color in different aspects of the house. So this is kind of the calmer area. So I have the seagrass and the white slip covers. I passed on a vintage tapestry in Europe a couple years ago, and I think about it all the time. So I try to bring tapestry inspired pieces anywhere I can, so that's where these pillows are. The exterior of the home is also so green, and you'll see all of the windows kind of reflect that color. So I wanted to pull that in little areas. So that's where the green comes in. My grandfather was a woodworker when I was a little girl, so this is actually a piece he made and that we've had in storage for forever, and I'm so excited that I get to have this, like a little piece of him. A lot of what I draw for an inspiration in my designs and in my home I want it to evoke a feeling. So this is something that, you know, I remember him, I know there's a history there, and I love it. And we do that a lot with our clients. So this is a piece of his that I get to hold on to, that I've just loaded up with all of my books and magazines and things that I reach for inspiration all the time. You'll also see in this house there's so much from my travels that I kind of pull in as little trinkets and memories. I actually just got back from England, and this is a piece I snagged in England. I love the colors, I love the seascape, and I loved the frame. So this gets to sit on my mantle right now. I cannot commit to hanging anything on the wall. As an interior designer, I think we're always looking and creating and visualizing things. So nothing is really on the walls in this house because I change things out so often. But this is a prime location. So this got this right now. So the fun thing about a 1926 house is there's not really AC and there's not heat. So in the winter time, this has original windows on the house, so it gets so cold in here. This is Riptide's dog bed. This is actually where I sit in the winter, and I'm next to the fireplace. This is on all the time in the winter, and I absolutely love it. It creates such a cozy feeling, and it's my favorite part of the house. Actually, I'm gonna say that about everything in the house, but this is definitely a favorite. This house was a different color when I bought it. I repainted a little bit just so it felt a little bit more me. So I loved that this house had built-ins and trim and moldings and casings that a lot of homes don't. And so I wanted that to all be contrasting. So I painted this to be a little bit more neutral, and I got a place to showcase all of my books. Again, I'm always reaching for collections and inspiration, and I go through these on an annual basis. But this is kind of where everything lives and I grab for. This is actually the book I had when I was a little girl. This is the book that Riptide is named after. I always knew I would have a golden retriever that I would name Riptide, and so this is where the name came from. And I actually try to find, that book is out of print, but I try to find that and give it to friends who are having kids because it's just like a special memory for me. So this looks like a blank space right now. Again, as a designer, I can visualize what will go here. I have a custom mirror in my head that I can't quite afford yet, but that's what's gonna live on this wall one day, flanked with 2 shell sconces from England. But again, like that's what I know will live there, and I won't commit to hanging anything until I can do that. But again, it kind of just creates this peaceful area for now. So this little area kind of came to be, I found this table at an estate sale, which is where a lot of the pieces I find come from: estate sales, Facebook Marketplace, online vendors that I'll have shipped from places. But I loved the big size. We used it in a client's house. I really thought she'd keep it, but I'm so happy she didn't. So this is kind of where this lives. And then just again, I have my little trinkets, my shells, which are kind of dotted all throughout the house. I have this is from Breakfast at Tiffany's, one of my favorite movies. And then this lampshade is actually, I found at the bottom of a shop in Florence, Italy. It was 10 euros and it was a lot more to ship home, but I thought it was one of the coolest pieces I'd ever seen and so beautiful. And so I snagged it. Everybody said it was the best find of the trip, and it lives here now, and it gets to bring that character and charm and color and warmth into this space. So everything, again, I move things around all the time just kind of based on colors. I'll put different florals here and then kind of mix and match things so it looks good. I think that's just the designer in me. Everything's kind of moving around. And then again, the slip covers, just so that everything is kind of cohesive. I think in my head, I want to recover everything all the time, but I kind of love how peaceful this room feels right now. I am by no means a smoker, but I love to keep kind of quirky pieces, again, that just kind of feel unique. My grandpa made these and they were in storage for forever, and I just couldn't part with them. And I think they're just such a fun, unique feature. And I just, again, love that they come from my grandpa, and that they're a memory, and that they're just kind of these fun little things, a conversation starter, if you will. So the windows, these are all original windows for the most part, and this is my AC. So they're always open like this. Definitely in the spring. It's getting a little bit warmer today. We kind of have that May gray, June gloom, but they're always open. The Dutch door is always open, and I love listening to the birds. If you could smell right now the fragrance coming from outside and just hear the birds chirping, this is the best time of year for the garden. So I love listening to that from my couch. So when I first found this house, I immediately fell in love because it's a cute old cottage and it has a yard, which were 2 things I was looking for that I did not think I would actually find in this part of Laguna Beach. And so this was a dream in itself. The people who lived here previously had done a meticulous job of taking care of it. So when I first walked in, I said I wasn't going to change a thing, which is a lie as an interior designer, but I really tried to keep it true to the house. So of course the windows were kind of the thing that drew me in. There's so much natural light, which is a huge thing for me. But I'll be very honest, when I walked up into the house, the first thing I noticed was the original doorbell, which is this sweet little, and I just thought that was the cutest thing. And I always say that was the thing that got me, but truthfully everything in this house had me. But that was kind of the first thing that I fell in love with. I tell people all the time to use that instead of the ring. I have the ring for security purposes, but we love to hear this doorbell. I spend most of my time in here. In the winter, again, I'm next to the fireplace, but I have a lot of friends who come over, and in the cooler months, we stay in here. The rest of the time we're outside, but this is kind of where I work from this sofa sometimes. I work from home, so I think I work in every single room, but I work from here. I like to watch TV. I cuddle up with Riptide on the sofa. I entertain on here, and I think it's just kind of the bigger room that everybody can fit in. It's not the biggest space, but it's also something that people are sitting on the floor or drinking wine or playing games. So it's been really fun to kind of see this room evolve. This is the room room that I've kind of spent the most energy in redesigning. When I first found the house, I wanted to do wallpaper in this room, but because the living room was going to be so clean, I wanted a nice transition. So what I opted for was a custom mural, because the light that hits this room in the summertime, actually at this time of year, in the afternoon is so beautiful. I didn't want it to be taken away from with a busy wallpaper. So I had the mural commissioned by an amazing artist in LA, and it's all based on the things that you see outside. I have some yellow roses, which yellow is my favorite color, and there's kind of little trickles of yellow throughout the house. There are seashells, which is a big thing. It's part of my brand. It's part of just who I am and being close to the water. We have lavender, which is planted outside. We have oranges, which are reflective of the orange tree outside. I also had him draw the little birds because I became obsessed with feeding the birds outside, the little bumblebees. So all of that is kind of sprinkled into this room. And I had it done in the colors that, again, reflected the outside that I was most attracted to. So you see the oranges and the yellows and the greens. What I always say is I like a muddied down version of those colors, and so I thought he did a beautiful job capturing all of that. We also have the Patio poppies, which are one of my favorite flowers, and that's kind of everywhere. And I just love that it's imperfect. It's not perfectly symmetrical, and it just feels a little bit, it just feels like me. And so again, it's reflective of all of the exterior and the things that we can pull from the outside in, so it kind of feels seamless. So this we call Jamie's Gin Joint. I am a martini drinker, and that's pretty much it. So most of this is actually filled with different types of gin. If my friends come over and they want something else, they pretty much know to bring that. But I love that we call this Jamie's Gin Joint, and it just, you know, is again a collection of things that I have found that I love. So we have things from, this little vase is from Provence. These were collected on travels, and then, you know, just different little trinkets, but there's little bar accoutrements as well that are just kind of found at different estate sales. But this is kind of where the fun times happen, is everybody starts here and then we end up in the living room. This piece I found, I knew exactly what I wanted, which I think is really hard because that's always something you're looking for. But I knew I needed storage in this area. I knew I wanted this space to be my bar. And I actually found this piece in Atlanta that literally fit side to side perfectly. And I found somebody who would ship it for really cheap. But this piece is like perfect for here. Everything can be stored securely in here. And we grab for it all the time. I would say every Friday at 5 is where happy hour happens. And so that's Jamie's Gin Joint. So the table I actually found at Round Top, and that was one of the first pieces I bought because I didn't have a table for this space and it fit perfectly. And I love kind of the vintage feel of it. I love the wood grain in it. And then these chairs I actually found at a sidewalk sale. I got 4 for $100. And what I did was I recovered them in this kind of slip covered scallop with a pattern cushion, which I love to do. I kind of love finding different pieces and utilizing it to make it my own. So, and I have people who have tried to buy these off of me, and I always want to change things, but I really am attached to these chairs. So for now, they'll stay here. But they're very comfortable and they're very cute, and they just kind of pull this space together. I'd like to say that my favorite colors are a muddied down version of green, blue, and yellow. And so I got all of that in this fabric. This is kind of, when you look at it, this room was all white a couple of months ago. I really knew I wanted the mural, so I painted it. And what I did was I painted the built-in, which is original. I painted it a green so that it made everything pop. When it was white, everything kind of got lost in it. So when I painted it green, you could just see some of my collected cups and mugs and patterns popped a little bit more. This chandelier popped, and I love how it kind of incorporates like a dainty floral look without being too floral, and just made this whole room kind of come together. I have every intention of painting these shades. Kind of, again, I like to make things my own. I don't want it to look like it's store-bought. That's a big part of what we're trying to do at Jay-Z Interiors, and so maybe this summer I will paint those and you'll see how they look. So I love to host. I would say, again, this is kind of where we host in the winter, and it's kind of smaller and more intimate. In the summer, you'll see the outside is so beautiful that we love to host out there. This is a lot of lunches. I have a couple of clients where I'll actually pull everything out here and we'll have client meetings here. just because it's so pretty. But this is definitely a more intimate just because of the tiny space. But the kitchen is so close by that it makes it really, really easy. I also love to do just a lot of charcuterie here and wine. And again, if anybody wants a martini, this is kind of where we do it before maybe we go walk down to town or something. I don't actually start out thinking I want a lot of antiques. I think that's just how I am because I like the patina of it and I also like the quality of things. For me, I went through several iterations of how this room would look before I landed on this, and I think once I found the mural artist and saw his work and kind of what we could create together, everything kind of started coming together. From the colors, and again, when the light hits this room in the afternoon, it's so pretty, which kind of goes back to that mirror that I want in my living room, is I want it to be reflective of that. It's a tiny space, so I didn't want it to feel too overdone, which I have a tendency to do just because I like different things and trinkets. This is the cleanest I've actually seen this space. So I cleaned up for you guys and that's kind of why it looks so beautiful, but this was the intent, to kind of pull everything in and make it feel cozy. I think that's kind of the word I would use to describe my aesthetic and our designs, is just kind of to make it feel something instead of store-bought. So the built-ins was kind of fun because once we painted it, like I said, everything got to pop against that green. So I collect a couple of I love to collect vintage glassware. These are actually, my mom got me these for my 21st birthday. They're 1950s shot glasses with the seahorses on them, which are just darling, and they've made it this far. There's other things in here that I love to showcase, is just vintage glassware. I joke that this is my hostess cup when friends come over. So there's just different pieces that make it pop and that feel unique. These are actually from the Ivy. I get a different, I get 1 to 2 pieces for my birthday every year, which is really special. And I love that they finally kind of stand out against something. And then just, again, I move things around for what feels right. We host with these all the time. Different antique pieces, different artwork that kind of evokes that feeling of a memory. When I moved into this house, there was actually no hardware on any of this, which was so funny to me. But I found these pieces that sat in a box for about a year. They're from England, they're Devol, and they just made the whole space feel so much cuter and pulled together, and I just love the way they look, and they've aged over time. I'm gonna take us into the kitchen now. For a small kitchen, this actually has so much storage, which is huge. Again, small house, it works really well. The people who lived here before me, the husband was a chef, and so everything was kind of made from what he experienced that would help him have the best cooking experience. So this butcher block, which I love, I would never have thought that for myself, and it's now my favorite countertop. And then what I thought was really cute, I originally hated this chair here, but the wife was a martini gal, and so she would sit here and drink martinis while her husband cooked for her, and I loved that. And then, to be completely honest with you, I drink my coffee here every morning, I read here, I sometimes work from here. That chair that I didn't like at first has become my favorite spot in the house. So I do cook a lot. I love to host and I love to try new recipes. I actually just tried something the other day that did not do very well, but I think that's part of learning. And then I bake a lot too. So this is kind of the perfect kitchen to learn from that, and especially that a chef was here. It's so nice to have the storage all panned out so that I'm able to do that. I have a beautiful orange tree in the backyard that really produced well this year, so I make orange juice fresh every day, which is such a dream, and I'm so grateful to be able to do that. But that's something that this is utilized every single morning, and then sometimes when friends come over. A lot of the time when I make food and it's just myself, I will eat at this little table here, this sweet little bistro table. There's actually a tiny TV that they put in the cupboard here. So I always thought having a TV in the kitchen was such a luxury, and I absolutely love having that little TV here. I will show you right now. But sometimes I just hole up back here and I just think it's the sweetest little thing. And then the other thing that they were so great about with storage in here, my washer and dryer is in here, which is just, again, you wouldn't know it's there. Sometimes I really do wish I had a laundry room, but for a tiny space, they did a great job with storage. So I found this rug in Round Top and I just fell in love with the color. I actually bought it before I even lived in this house. I guess sometimes we do that too. We hold on to things hoping that it works for ourselves or a client. And so I loved the green and florals in here. In my mind, I still think it's a little bit too big for this space, but because I'm cooking and walking here all the time, it's perfect. And then I have this rug here that's just kind of, everything is layered. And again, this kind of goes back to the greens and the blues and the yellows. I just kind of love how it livens up the space and makes it feel a little bit warmer. The pendants were actually here when I moved in, along with the window coverings, which I know are so beautiful, but again, as somebody who wants to make it my own, what I would love to do is do like some beautiful cafe curtains in here I have the fabric. It's like a sheer diamond pane, crisp white, and eventually I would love to paint this kitchen yellow, so that would kind of play off of that. And then for the lights, I really wanted to do something that's kind of like a curtain color that just drapes down, that feels a little bit bistro and just a little bit homier. But I get more compliments on these lights than you would even believe, and they're not my favorite, but they work here. So again, just kind of going on things that I find, I knew I wanted a little hat rack here and to hold all my things. So I found this piece in France. I also found this at the French flea market and then had it framed in this beautiful frame. And I love, again, those colors. I love that it kind of gets to live here and it's connected to a memory. I think a lot of my artwork speaks to that, is just kind of connected to a memory or a place. And so I love bringing that into my home. Now we're gonna go to my office. Now we are in my office, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, this is the cleanest I have ever seen my office. It's a tiny place. I love working from home. I think it spills out into every room, but for now I know I kind of love being here. So the office was something I originally brought my old desk table my old desk, and it was so massive for this room. And I ended up finding this piece that was smaller and had a lot more storage. And I absolutely love this desk. It's so beautiful and it's perfect. I just hosted a retreat with a friend of mine in England and couldn't bring myself to get rid of the garland yet. So that's why this is up here on my hat wall. But this is kind of where I work. This is where everything happens, unless I'm on my sofa or unless I'm at the dining room table. But I actually have a 4-foot monitor that is so ugly, but it helps me be super productive, that I've hidden for you guys today. And this is kind of where I work. And I have 2 people who I work with who are virtual, who live in different places. So it's great to kind of have my space here. This is a vintage hat and coat rack that I had seen. I found this from Chateau Sonoma, and she has it all over her house, and I just loved it so much, and I bought it, and it's great. When I moved into this house, this was the only wall that it fit on because the walls are really small here. And I kind of love that it turned out this way. I have light skin and light eyes, so the sun is not my friend, but I'm always outside being so close to the beach. I love being in the water. I love being in the garden, so I need some sort of hats. So this is kind of where the hat wall came about. I got this one last year in Telluride at a bluesgrass festival where I got to make my own cowgirl hat, which is very fun. But I reach for these all the time, and I'm always using them. I travel with them, and they've stood the test of time. So that's where the hat wall came from, and it just fits on this wall. So this is where I house all of my samples. That's the hardest part about a designer who works from home, is there's so many pieces that I gravitate towards, and then I'm always changing out to give clients the best options, but this is kind of where my favorites have landed. So this is something I always start here when we start working on a project, and then I'll gravitate towards other things. We'll pull in other pieces of inspiration, and whether it's tile or marble, but this is kind of where I start when any project is started, is with what I have and what I love. I also do something really funny with fabrics. My favorite fabrics stay on the wall until I can use them. They live here. This is my next one that I'm really trying to use, and I think I will end up using it. but it's just kind of something that every time a project gets started, as soon as we go through kind of what the client wants, I'll say, oh, I know exactly what fabric we can use in here. And that's kind of where I say my favorites live up on these walls. I have two areas where I kind of have my favorites, and that's what I gravitate to. But then this is where all of everything is housed, and it's mostly me who reaches in here, which is why it's clean and organized now. But I would say I clean up every Sunday, and by Friday afternoon, samples have spilled out throughout the house. So I'm constantly changing things up. For our designs, I think there's a couple components that we do really well. I call them our design styles, but what I like to do is layer those. So my favorite aesthetic is kind of that English cottage inspired with the Nancy Meyers aesthetic, and we layer those to kind of create something homey and cozy and textural, and I love patterns and I love color, so implementing all of that together really cohesively. But we do things too where, you know, I love the Spanish revival, and being in Southern California, you see so many beautiful Spanish style homes. So we'll kind of say, oh, we'll layer that with a Nancy Meyers aesthetic, or we can layer that with a little bit of a modern aesthetic, and all of that kind of blends. So what I really love to say about us is we have maybe 5 to 6 styles we do really well, but we layer them so it doesn't feel mass-produced. One of the most special pieces in my house is actually this Louis Vuitton trunk that I found when I was in college for about $100. I don't even know if it's real, but the thing about it is I'm a big handwritten letter gal. My grandma used to write me the most beautiful letters all the time, and as we got older, my brother and I realized those weren't going to come around as much. So I became such a handwritten card gal, and anybody who sends me a card or a letter, I keep it and it lives in here. So this is actually full, again, tying that to a memory. This actually houses things my nephews have drawn me, letters from friends and family, which I just think is really fun and special. And if you're ever having a bad day, let me tell you, I will open this up and go through it, and it's just filled with love. So this is a really special piece to me. One of the other best things about working from home in this space is the natural light and that it leads straight into the backyard. So I'm going to take you out there now. So the backyard is what I think is the best part of the house. And being that this is my office in the summertime, I do work here all the time. This is a big part of where we host. We have 3 tables out here that I can host at. This is where we spend most of the time with friends and family. And then you can just kind of see the garden is going off right now, being springtime. So I'll show you around. So the previous owners for this house, they originally lived in Chicago and they were moving back to Chicago. So the first thing I asked was, what are you gonna do with all your exterior furniture? Because it's great, and they ended up giving it to me, which is such a dream because the space is so beautiful and so huge. But I was able to incorporate all of this. I inherited all of this with the house, which has just made hosting such a dream. This table is my favorite part. It's kind of this vintage antique piece, solid oak, so it gets protected in the winter, but it's really fun to host dinner parties out here on this table. We have the whole setup back here with the barbecue and my gardening tools. So this is kind of where all the cooking happens. We set up out here. Food is usually splayed across this, or I try my hand at gardening on this table. So it's been super functional and super fun to use, and I'm just so lucky. So I would say I'm a gardening novice, but it was always something I wanted to do. I just didn't have the space for it. So when I came here, they had done such a beautiful job with the yard that I knew I needed to keep it alive. And it was really fun to try something different. And I think there's something to be said about trying new things and seeing what doesn't work. So I actually have an herb garden I'll show you in a minute. And then I loved being able to kind of plant things I love. So I love the pops of color. I love right now the little spray roses in the front that come up to life. There's lavender, we have morning glory. I have the hydrangeas, which are coming back around too. It's been kind of fun to learn that. All of my grandparents were in the garden all the time. So one of my grandfathers had tomatoes, and it has made all of us tomato snobs. So I'm really trying hard to make sure I can do tomatoes this year because it didn't work for me last year. And then my grandmother, June, had such beautiful hydrangeas and roses. And so that's something that's kind of been fun and kind of a, you know, again, a memory that I get to kind of bring to life and watch it happen. And then anything that doesn't work, I'm like, okay, why? What did I do wrong and what do I do next time? So it's kind of been this learn as you go sort of thing. But this year is kind of fun because so much of it survived and I'm so proud and so excited. But any Saturday afternoon, I'm usually out back here making sure everything is taken care of. These are my tomatoes that are starting to come in. These are black beauties and I'm so excited to see them popping up. And then this is my herb garden, which is starting to really take off. It has been so much fun to just come back here and grab things from the garden as I cook and as I host, and again, try my hand at different things. So we have a ton of stuff back here. My zucchini was doing really well, and then I think I was overzealous and it's not doing so great right now. But I come back here, I'm doing fresh salads every day for lunch. And again, kind of going on what works and what doesn't. I realized last week that the crows were eating all of my dill, which I put in my salads every day, and I was so upset. So now I have this little algae to scare them off, and it has worked, and the dill is starting to slowly grow back. So it's all about trial and error with this. So we're about 2.5 blocks away from the ocean, which is another dream in and of itself. So right now we have kind of this May gray, June gloom, where everything's really gray. This was a really great year for rain, so everything is thriving. But that's kind of what helps everything grow. Where I used to live, everything was in like a raised garden bed, but it would get beat by summer heat. And so because we're by the water and you get that ocean breeze, it's been really fun and a lot easier to keep things alive. The other thing, I have this lemon tree which is taking off, which I love to be able to grab lemons from for everything. And then the roses are really starting to bloom. I love just all of the colors. I think sometimes people around this area really just want one color for aesthetics, and I just love all the color infused in different areas. And then the best part is this orange tree, which really produced this year. And we have the last bits of it right now, but that's where I make the fresh orange juice every morning. It's from these oranges, and I do orange olive oil cakes all the time for family and friends. So this is kind of the guest bathroom, but the previous owners did such a great job. I'll show you this little feature for storage that we've actually incorporated into 2 different projects. But they put these little medicine cabinets on the back of the door, and it's so smart for storage purposes that we're using that for our own projects. These are not original. The bathroom has been a little bit redone. I have my own idea of how I want to redo it one day, but what I loved is just how classic it is. This looks like an old, everybody thinks it's the original flooring. It's not, but it looks like it is. And I think that's what I want for this house, is for everything to feel organic and feel like it's part of the old house. And now I'm going to take you to my bedroom. So this room obviously reflects a lot of the green from outside, which is such a dream. Having those windows, again, the open windows, I get to hear the birds. I actually wanted a water feature for the front of this, but my neighbors have one, so I get to listen to their water feature for free, and it's so wonderful. But I wanted a kind of calm space in here, and so I incorporated little pops of green, the stripes, kind of this floral. This was a chair that was already here. I just had it recovered kind of so it felt more me. I mean, it's so peaceful when you're here and you get to look out to this. It's a dream come true. This was actually my aunt's dresser, and I love how it fits this space so perfectly. When I got it, I didn't actually have space for it at the time, and I held on to it because I knew it was just so beautiful. And so I'm so lucky that I get to use this and have something pretty to look at all the time. This is another pressed floral that I found in France. I bought this with every intent to sell it to a client and ultimately couldn't part with it. Still cannot commit to hanging it on a wall. I don't know if I want it to live here or if I want it to live above the bed. I move it around a little bit as everything, but I just love how patinaed it looks and weathered, and I just love it. So one of the things, especially in this house, but I always kind of want to reflect in projects, is bringing the outside in. I'm very intentional with that in designs for my clients, and especially for myself in this room. Because there's so much greenery outside, because there's so many florals, I wanted that to feel the same in here without feeling like I was outside or without feeling like it was competing with the outside. So I brought in this beautiful fabric and kind of incorporated that in. It reflects all of the greens outside. There's so many variants of green outside that I love that I get to bring it in a little bit. And then I was due for some new bedding and found this piece at a local shop and absolutely love how it turned out. Of course, I have to add a pop of yellow to everything, so that's where this came in. But again, I kind of think that mesh of pattern and that mesh of the mix of florals, kind of with that easy linen, kind of makes that like easygoing, kind of like that California feel meets an English cottage. It all feels very layered and just kind of cute and quintessential cottagey. As I mentioned, I just got back from England. A friend of mine and I hosted a retreat out there, and one of the things we got to do was host a workshop with Tess Newell, who I've been a long time fan of, so it was a dream come true, and we actually painted these lampshades with her. So I just got mine a couple of days ago, and I'm so excited about it. I think it pulls in the greens and yellows with a pop of pink perfectly, and it's just kind of, again, tied to a memory, something custom, something that I got to do, and it just kind of, it feels unique, and it's one of my favorite pieces in the house, but I'm gonna say that about everything. So when I moved into this house and I eventually painted it, I was really intentional on the paint color. So I wanted kind of a warmer white with that contrasting trim because we don't have casings like this anymore. And this is the original hardware and the hinges as well. So I really wanted it to pop. Everything was all white in here, which looked beautiful, but I wanted it to kind of feel a little bit more elevated. And so I chose this kind of bone color, which has a green undertone, which is reflective of the green outside. But now everything gets to pop and I get more compliments and people notice the hardware more than they did before. So this is the front porch, which is darling. I also like to call it Riptide's territory because he cries every night about 5:30 to come out and just watch the world go by, which is kind of a great reminder to stop and slow down, and I'll sit out here and I'll work a little bit, but you get to watch the world go by from the front door. So the house was originally kind of this pale yellow color, which is my favorite color, but I wanted it to feel a little bit more elevated. So I found this beautiful creamy white that would pop against the greenery. Again, there's so much green here. I wanted it to stand out, and then I brought in kind of a muddied down green for the trim, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. And then I kind of added different brass features, different places. So these were kind of the first thing I knew I wanted when I painted everything. They're also from England, and I just think they fit this space super well. And then the other thing that is really fun is this mailbox feature was actually part of the house, but it was just a kind of an open slot. And I found this lettere sign in Rome, and I bought it, and it literally fits perfectly. So I had that installed, and nobody actually gives me mail through this anymore, but I love that it's here and it just kind of pops against the colors. So we come out here, I think again in the summertime, everything is so much more fun and I love being outdoors. So I'm out here all the time with friends. We'll do a glass of wine out here and just kind of sit, and the sun sets really beautifully here and it's so cozy and warm. The swing is also a huge feature. People love to sit on that. We don't have enough swings outside, so that's been a really fun feature. So I actually had the house painted a couple of months ago at the end of summer. I did James White by Faro and Ball on the exterior of the home, and then Embassy Green by Benjamin Moore on the trim of the house. And what's really fun is this was not a custom door, but the green matches perfectly for this screen, which is really great for all of the bugs that I don't want to get into my house. I wish you guys could smell what this place looks or smells like right now because everything is so fragrant. The jasmine is coming in right here. I have hydrangeas that are starting to pop up, they just look so great. Normally, this is my favorite rose bush. It has the most fragrant yellow roses, which is kind of what we brought into the dining room as that inspiration. They're just budding right now, but everything smells so good out here and it's the best part of this time of year. I think a home should be reflective of the people who live in it and a collection of things that they love, and again, a memory. I think we want a collection of memories so we feel something and we're not just coming home to something that's perfectly styled and void of any character. That's something that I feel so much in my home and that I really try to encourage our clients to do in their own homes. This is a home full of hosting, so full of friends, full of family, full of people who can just come and show up and sit on your couch in their sweatpants, or people you're hosting dinner parties with. I think it's just something, you want it to be this happy space, and that's something I've really tried to encapsulate in this house.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you into the idyllic Sonoma wine country home of interior designer Lisa Furtado. The bright and lush landscapes surrounding her historic home provided the perfect backdrop for the interiors, which she infused with a soothing and layered color palette that feels right out of a Nancy Meyers movie. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Lisa Furtado, and welcome to our historic home in Kenwood, California, in the heart of Sonoma wine country. So the living room is the first room that you walk into from the porch. So there's no real entryway in this house. So we wanted to create sort of some sense of transition and entry. So we did a row of hooks here. We have this antique bench here just to throw things on. But in general, you'll just walk in straight into the living room. So the house was built in 1912, and for reference, that's the year that the Titanic sank. And for baseball fans, that is the year Fenway Park was built. It was a couple years before World War I, and it was also the time of the arts and crafts movement. So that was a decorative trend that started in Britain and made its way to the United States. And it was really this response and reaction to the Victorian era, which coincided with the Industrial Revolution. So at that time, there was mass production of goods and decorative moldings. It was sort of this more is more over the top style of Victorian home. So when that era had run its course, people were really craving a return to a more simplified way of life. And it was sort of the Marie Kondo era of its time, and were the same guiding principles that you should really only bring things into your home that are functional or that you find beautiful. So from that sentiment, the Craftsman home was born. And this is a typical Craftsman home in that it has a lot of the features that a Craftsman would: the low pitched roof, large porch, high windows, wainscoting, and really all of these features are a way to bring the outside in. And this house has the original windows in many parts of the home with the leaded glass, and you can see the wave in the glass. It really adds charm to the home. One of my favorite features is the diamond-shaped grids on the windows. It really adds charm and character to the home. This room is fairly small as a living room, so we added this oversized mirror to really give the illusion that it was bigger. This particular mirror is from Anthropologie, and it's just sitting on the ground, although it is attached to the wall, but it just sits behind the sofa. We intentionally kept a neutral palette in this house because the house is so saturated on the outside. I wanted to feel like a rest for the eye when you came inside. So we have a lot of natural materials, neutral colors in here. It feels very much like the landscape of Sonoma. And Sonoma is very casual also. So I wanted to maintain that sentiment in the house. So this is not the main hangout area of our house. If we want to watch TV, we'll go in the Carriage house where there's a large sectional in there. But if one of us is here, we'll pop on the sofa and watch television, or we'll put a game on. This is a frame TV, so it's meant to look like art, which is perfect for the space because when you walk into a room, the last thing you want to stare at is a big black box. So this works perfect. You can change the image, although we've kept this image for the last couple of years. Now I'll take you into the kitchen. So one of the first places during the open house that I went to was straight to this window seat. And I sat here and looked outside and really envisioned what the house could be. People that have been to the house have said that the house has great energy. And it's really the feeling that I got from the first time that I walked through the door. And it's hard to explain, but it's sort of like the feeling that the house had a peaceful soul and a happy past. And knowing that the original owner was a female poet and her sister was a established watercolorist, I feel like this house really has some great, strong female creative energy. And I've always felt this sense of stewardship to not only honor the history of the house, but to maintain its beauty and to bring it to its full potential. One of my favorite features of this house is the tall windows here. Now, before we moved in, it was just all sprawling lawn, which was fantastic, but we knew that we'd eventually put a pool in. And this is great because I can be in the kitchen and peek out the windows and see the kids playing in the pool. Another feature I love is this butcher block top on the island. And it's a white kitchen, but the butcher block top really gives a sense of contrast and really breaks up the space and gives it depth and dimension. We do cook a lot in this house because we entertain a ton, but most of the cooking is actually done in the outdoor kitchen, which I'll show you later. This banquette seating here is one of my favorites. I love to sit here and have a cup of coffee, and this is where I love to work from home. We wanted to keep it fairly casual and not have anything too precious in this house. So this table's a reproduction, but it's unsealed, so you can see it's dinged and has water stains and the whole bit, but it's really a space that I wanted people to feel comfortable in and be able to relax. These chairs are antique bentwood chairs, which I love, and they have that kind of rustic, worn feeling with the leather and the nail head trim. And then this banquette seating here can fit so many kids or adults, and we play Monopoly and games around it. And of course, in the winter, we'll eat here, but in the summertime, we typically are outside enjoying the Sonoma warmth. So as you can see, we have lots of cut flowers around the house, and these are all from the yard. And depending on the season, I'll cut flowers and bring them in. But these hydrangea I cut in the fall and dried, and they dry really well and preserve really well. So this is a picture here of the couple that built the home. Their names were Ned and Nell Wilson, And they owned the Kenwood Mercantile, which was across from the train station in Kenwood. And that was really the hub of Kenwood at the time. Nell was a well-known poet and published poet, and she was friends with novelist Jack London, who wrote, as you may know, The Call of the Wild and The Valley of the Moon. So Jack London and his wife Charmaine were storied to have come to the house many times. And I know this because the previous owners, who took wonderful care of the house and they made some beautiful upgrades, they also did a historical report on the house. And I also know this because last year a man knocked on the door and told us that his mom was born in the front room over here. His grandparents were Ned and Nell Wilson, who built the house. And so, of course, we were excited to talk to him, and he was excited to tour the house, and we showed him around, and he showed us where he'd play outside as a kid. And he came back with 2 huge boxes of photo albums. And we spent hours going through these black and white original photos of his grandparents and his parents and people in front of the house and around the house. And it was so cool to see the house in its original state. I think for any homeowner of a historic home, it's such a gift to see a house in its original state, but especially as a designer, that information is priceless. We're gonna go into the butler's pantry now, which is a small space, but where all the magic happens, the caffeine and the cocktails. But this is one of my favorite little spaces to come in the morning, and the light shines through the windows, and make a cup of coffee and start my day. Let me bring you in this way and show you this little, we call it the French bathroom, but it's just this little closet bathroom that it has high ceilings, so there was enough space for cabinetry and a light and a tiny little French faucet and sink there. But that's useful for a guest to have. This space is sort of the breezeway, and I don't know what it was originally, but I call it my artist studio, even though I don't paint much. But we have this antique French easel here that I just keep art on. And we have kind of a collection of some original oil paintings and some prints and some photography that I love. But this bay of windows is just amazing because you can walk in here and the light floods in and you can see the entire yard from this space. So I'll bring you upstairs to the attic bedrooms. So in the attic bedrooms, we kept the original floors, which are over 100 years old. As you can see, they are beat up and scuffed and super creaky, but I thought it added to the charm of this space. So one of our main goals in the house was to be able to bring people and entertain and maximize sleeping space. So in this room, we have 4 trundle beds that all pull out, so we can really sleep 8 kids or adults. We've had some adult slumber parties in this room. Can sleep 8 people in this space. I knew I wanted to do something graphic and fun in this space. So we took the wallpaper all the way around. And this antique rug I had held on to for literally years and didn't have a place for it. And as soon as we put this room together, I thought this is going to be perfect in here. So I love the coordination with the rug and the wallpaper, and love these woven hanging pendants here on each side of the bed. They have little on and off switches that the kids can switch them on when they're reading or playing a game. So we brought the wallpaper all the way around the room, but left this wall out. And the reason for that is because eventually I'd like to put a bathroom up here. A lot of these older homes, the attic spaces didn't have plumbing on the second level. So this is really a space where the kids have a blast having slumber parties and bringing lots of friends. But it would be really nice if there was at least a sink and a toilet in here so they could have their own bathroom up here and not have to go downstairs in the middle of the night. So this is all the original wainscoting here. It's a very small bedroom. The mirrors on the closet really do help to visually expand the space. So I wanted to do a gallery wall that sort of drew your eye up. So this is a collection of a few original pieces, a piece that I got at Goodwill. This is actually one of my favorite oil paintings. It has this sort of dark, moody vibe. And one of these is actually a piece that was done by my daughter, who was 7 at the time. That one up there. But we had it in our house for a couple years, and I thought, I need one more piece up there. And it was the perfect size and the perfect geometric layout that really finished the space. For clients, when I'm doing a gallery wall, I typically lay it out and cut out pieces of paper in the size of the art that we're working with, or we do it on SketchUp and do a rendering. When it's my own house, it's an evolution of putting things up and down and around and just working it until it gets right. When you're in your own house, you kind of have the luxury of time. So this collection really is just that. So trial and error and lots of nail holes. Not anything that I would do in a client's house, but in my own space, it worked. So the chandelier is one of my favorites that I've used in projects before, and it's from Made Goods. It's made of these tiny little beads and sort of has this fabric-like lightness to it. The windows are original with this diamond grid, and all of the hardware looks to be original as well. And some of it's in sort of a precarious situation here. And to open these, some of them you kind of have to give a nudge to, but it is really the most charming thing about this house, these original windows. And I love waking up in the morning and seeing the view through those grids. It just really adds character and charm to the home. We don't have window coverings on the windows because I just did not want to cover anything up, and there's just not a whole lot of space to work with on the molding flanking the windows, so we just kept it open. So we're going old school, just going to sleep in the dark and waking to the sunrise. These pieces here were sort of in the process of the gallery wall, and I had these sitting here for a while, and I really love these particular pieces. They just didn't work in the gallery wall, but now I keep them here because it just seems like sort of this romantic thing to just have your art on the floor ready to be hung at any moment. So this house had these openings here, and I am not quite sure what they were for, and I didn't know what to put in there. And then I found these antique pieces of luggage, and they fit perfectly and sort of went with the style of the room. The house was built in 1912, the year the Titanic sank, so this is sort of a nod to the Titanic. I don't know if that's creepy or cool, but going with it. So I'll bring you into the guest bathroom now. So this bathroom looked very different, although I really wanted to keep the original clawfoot tub. It's not the most functional, but it's so beautiful. We painted the base the same color as the wainscoting that we painted. It's this dark charcoal gray. And we refinished the inside of the tub so it looks as good as new. The diamond grid windows there are original windows again, but we painted them the same deep charcoal color. We replaced the vanity and the mirror, and we added this wallpaper. It took a while and a few different tries to find just the right wallpaper, but I really love this one. And it has these intricate vines, and it looks like there's grapes hanging from some of the vines, and it really just does bring that historic feel to the space. So the floor, I don't know that it was original to the early 1900s, but it was here, and it's marble, it's beautiful. So we kept the marble floors. We refinished the bathtub. I really wanted to keep the original clawfoot bathtub, so we just painted the base and had the inside refinished. So the window is original, we just painted it dark. It has the same diamond grids as many of the other parts of the home. We just added the little cafe curtain there. The lights are all new. The mirror is new, the vanity and the marble top is all new, but really designed it in a way that felt authentic to the home and felt historic. So let me take you outside, because this is the space that we've done the most work and that we spend the most time in. So the backyard is where we spend most of our time, and it looks very different than it does today. Although there are some original features out here. The tank house is one of them. And in Sonoma County, you'll find lots of these tank houses. If you pay attention, they are like relics in Sonoma. And we have the original well here. The tank houses, before modern plumbing and electricity, they would use windmills to pump the water from the well up to a tank and use gravity to push it down to the pipes. One of the main draws of this piece of property was the large, expansive lawn. But we knew with the warmth in Sonoma that we eventually wanted to put in a pool. We were a little concerned that we were going to eat up the space of the lawn, but as you can see, we still have a ton of lawn space. And the kids are out here all the time playing wiffle ball and throwing a football around. And we put an in-ground trampoline at the far side of the lawn, which was a bit of a negotiation with my husband because he's a little freaked out about trampolines, but this is more for me than anyone else. But we positioned the pool on this side of the property for a couple reasons. It had to have a certain setback from the well and the septic. So we positioned it on this side, but I always envisioned the kids jumping on the trampoline and running and jumping into the pool. We also built this arbor above the fence, and I had another vision of this arbor full of pink roses that would frame the pool. And in the spring, it's done just that. It's so beautiful to see those roses pop and just create this frame on the pool. They only last 3 or 4 weeks, but those few weeks are glorious. This is a place that we entertain a ton, and when we designed the space, we had that in mind. So we sort of have these zones on the property, one of them being the pool space and the sectional over in the corner, the seating by the pool. We have the table and umbrella here, the fire pit with the chairs surrounding it. We have a dining table there, the long antique dining table with the hanging pendants above the tree. And we also have cornhole and ping pong over on this side of the house, and the carriage house, which I'll show you next. The outdoor kitchen is one of my favorite spaces, and it probably took the longest to design. My husband really wanted a all-encompassing kitchen where he could do all the cooking and not have to go inside to the kitchen. And there's quite a bit of distance between the outdoor kitchen and the indoor kitchen. So we really did maximize the outdoor space with all of the appliances that you would need to cook a full meal. We have, starting in this corner, a beer tap. We have refrigeration here, a freezer, storage, spices, of course, a barbecue. We have a side burner here, beverage center, ice maker, trash, sink, dishwasher. A lot of people asked us why we would put wood cabinetry in this kitchen, but it's actually stainless steel. So it's super durable. The cabinets are by Brown Jordan in partnership with Danvers. And I wanted to create this sense of connection with the house and sort of this cottage style of cabinetry, which you don't typically see in an outdoor kitchen. One of my favorite features is the tile backsplash, and it really does connect the color with the color of the house. The countertops are porcelain made to look like poured concrete. And poured concrete, I love the look of it, but it's very porous, and even if you seal it, you're still gonna get the watermarks eventually. And the porcelain, once it's installed, is very durable. It's a little tricky. You'll have to find a knowledgeable fabricator to do the install, but once it's here, it's pretty much bulletproof. We installed the television in the direction of the pool because I had envisioned the kids and adults watching TV and games from the hot tub and from the bar stools and from the lounge chairs. So we really do utilize the television out here mainly for football and baseball games, but occasionally we'll do an outdoor movie out here, so it's really fun. The fire pit is a space that we spend a lot of time into the night, and we'll sit around here, have great conversation. The kids will often play guitar, and even if there's no one sitting around the fire pit, we'll turn it on because it really is a nice ambiance to be able to sit in the hot tub and see that glow of a fire. Let me take you now to the pool house. So when we built this space in 2020, as you can remember, doors and windows were really hard to source at that time. There was a lead time of like 18 to 24 months. So we had to get a little bit creative. And I found these antique bifolding doors that I feel like fit perfectly and really did the job of connecting the new space with the old space. So again, this was a space that we wanted to maximize sleeping space. So we have queens on the bottom, twins up top. So this can sleep 2, 4, 5, 6 kids, maybe 7 if they're small. And we have the bathroom here. The tile is one of my absolute favorites. It's this glass and marble mosaic, and it really does just speak pool house. So this structure here is what we call the carriage house. I don't know what it was originally, or if it was original. I'm assuming not because it has a foundation. But this was a space the previous owners had used as an office. And this was a great opportunity to create a space for the kids and especially the teenagers to hang until the late wee hours of the night. So we have a large sectional, the pool table here. The kids just come and hang, and it's a space that stays really cool also. So the kids will just sort of duck in here when the weather is really warm. But they'll play video games. These built-in cabinets were here. I think the previous owners put them in. I didn't love the color particularly, but we painted the entire thing this really dark black navy color, and it really did make this beautiful contrast with the paint. And we did the beadboard ceiling, hung a really large pendant, and just created sort of this cool casual vibe for the kids. The kids are 12, 15, and 17, so this is really the ideal hangout for them. They can come in here and play pool, play the guitar, play video games, wrestle, do all the things. And the kids, especially the teenagers, will stay out here till the wee hours of the night, and they'll close the door and feel like this is their own space. There's nothing too precious in here, which I wanted to create this casual vibe that they could feel comfortable and feel like they weren't gonna break anything. And so we love this space for them and for us to be able to close the doors and not hear anything into the night. This is the room above the tank house, and in my opinion, it's the best bed in the house. You really feel like you are in a tree house when you're up here. It has this beautiful view of the pool. You feel like you're in the trees looking out these windows here. It's, again, very casual. The bedding doesn't match, but I did want to keep it that cool, casual Sonoma vibe up here. This was actually my daughter's Zoom classroom when the schools were closed down. We Zoom schooled from this house, and she set up shop here, and this was her classroom. This floor lamp was one that I picked up from an antique store. I love the intricacies of the iron. This oil painting here also, I picked up at the same antique store at the same time, and I just love the way the colors play with the rest of the room. The rug is another antique, and it fit perfectly between the beds. And again, we use this space to maximize sleeping space. So we have the 2 beds here, and also one mattress underneath that bed there that we can pull out. So 3 kids can sleep up here. You may be wondering what's at the bottom of the tower. It's just a little shed and storage for garden materials and the like. I won't show you inside because I've made quite a mess of it. Let me show you one more thing out here. It's the outdoor shower. In the summertime, people will come out here and actually prefer the outdoor shower to the indoor shower. This outdoor faucet is one that I actually found on Amazon. It was the end of the project, ran out of money, and I thought I'd just get this as a temporary fixture. And it has turned out to be one of the best plumbing fixtures in the house. It has a few different settings: the shower, the handheld, you can wash your feet, and there's also a light here so people can come around the back, switch the light on, and take an outdoor shower under the stars. Go, I want to tell you about the porch. Typical to craftsman homes, this house has a very large, deep porch. And I always wanted a porch swing as a kid, and I knew from the moment that we bought this house that I was going to put a porch swing in. I love this particular one. It's by Charleston Bed Swing, and it really just does give that southern vibe, along with the rocking chairs. And I love potting plants here in the spring and the summer. So this is my happy place. First places that I come with a cup of coffee before I make my way to the workspace in the banquette if I'm working from home. The house is sort of this periwinkle blue color, and the house was painted blue by the Cundy family when they lived here, and it was painted sometime in the 40s or 50s. And when we moved here, people would ask, "Are you going to change the color of the home?" And I said, "Oh gosh, no, I wouldn't dare. The house has been the same color for the last 70 or 80 years." So we decided to just really lean into the blue, and that's what we've done on the exterior. So we're making periwinkle cool again in the most classic and timeless way, of course. This house really feels like home to us because we have honored the history of the house and kept a lot of the original features, but brought in our own sense of style. So it really does feel like ours.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.